Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rack Chat episode. I don't even know how many at this point. 7, 8, 9, 8?
9. It might be 9.
Today, on today's show, we're going to teach you guys how to become the best athlete in the world. Spoken from one of the greatest coaches, I think, in the world, right?
I appreciate that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today. I'm with Adam. Am I pronouncing it right? Menner?
Correct, Menner.
Adam Menner is a strength and conditioning coach based out of New York at, I believe the facility's name is
Varsity House Gym.
Varsity House Gym. I met him through social media. Guy's putting out a lot of great content. He's a strength and conditioning coach. He's also obviously doing things in the social media realm to be able to put out information to educate athletes, and I believe a lot of coaches around the globe, even going as far as writing books, creating groups. That's how I kind of really got pulled in, is he wrote a book of free information that he wanted to give a select group of coaches the information to see if they could disseminate it and to look through it, and then give him tips and tricks that he could put back into the book and maybe advance it or just give feedback on it. So guy's doing a lot of different stuff. So I figured, hey, let's see if we can bring him on the show. I'm very excited to have you on the show. I feel privileged to have you on here, and I know it's going to help a lot of people out, and that is our goal. That is the goal of Rack Chat, is to just help people out, players as well as parents and other coaches out there who can follow along and learn something from this. So we got some good stuff for you. It's Wednesday. We're glad to have you guys here. It's Wednesday. We're shooting, we're doing a little ahead of time. So it's Wednesday, guys. Let's get into the show. I got some great questions for Adam. I wanted to first start off, I wanted you to introduce yourself to the listeners. Give them your mission as a coach, and just the kind of that Cliff Notes version of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank Brett for having me on the show. I just feel honored. No matter what happens or what's thrown your way, no matter how small or big, every opportunity is really appreciated. So I thank you for that.
100%.
So I'll give the Cliff Notes, as you will, right? So I actually started at DeFranco's Training Systems. I worked underneath Joe DeFranco and Cam Joss. And so my first, and that was about 7-8 years ago now, dating back to 2012. And my first experience with that was pretty wild, just seeing professional athletes, just seeing celebrities in there and along those lines. So it was very cool to see that. So my first, taste, if you will, was done really, really well, very professional. And Cam Joss, actually, he deleted his social media, but he...
why did he do that?
I think he just wanted to focus more on his training a little bit.
Okay.
Focus on being a great coach, and he's a great writer, so he kind of wanted to, no distractions, if you will.
Right.
So, but he taught me a lot, and he kind of paved the way for me. And then once they moved down to On It, I came here, did an internship at Varsity House Gym. I got my butt kicked. And then as soon as I began starting, I used my background of basketball playing in high school and then in college at Montclair State here locally for a year until I got hurt. And that was kind of the spark that allowed me to train other athletes, ranging from professionals to college, high school to youth athletes. And, my mission is to teach young basketball players and athletes how to train the right way, holding their hand from the process of just starting out. I've never stepped foot in a gym to getting a college scholarship or even playing professionally. And I want to show coaches how to do the same. I think there's a glaring problem in the private sector where a lot of coaches don't know where to start because there's no levels. Like if you're a doctor, okay, I have to do this, this, and this, get my residency, I become a doctor.
Right.
Same thing with a lawyer, same thing with a teacher. But if you were to ask a kid who just, graduated with an exercise science degree, what's the next step? He probably says, just start training people, start doing this, but you don't really learn how to become a professional. You don't know how to create high income skills, and you network with other industry leaders, and you really don't know how to establish yourself. So I kind of want to show guys how to do that as well.
I like that. What would you say that, just to answer that while we're on it, what would you say that young, because I get that a lot too, and they come ask questions like I'm sure they do you. What do I do if I'm in college or, I'm an athlete and I want to become a strength coach? What would you tell them that their first step should be?
I think the first step is, there's 1 and 1A, always, right? There's no one answer.
Yep.
1A is self-education, and I preach educating through 3 separate venues, if you will, which is personal development, which is business, anything about business in the training. So just like, how do I run a gym? How do I do this? And then the last is, anything industry related. So personal development, business, industry related, meaning like speed, power, strength, everything, right? You're just educating yourself. And then 1A is immediately connect yourself with somebody who's already doing it. And
Perfect.
I think that will allow you to learn, and then you can kind of hone in your skills that way.
Perfect. See, I like it. I'd answer it the same way. I like the mentorship. You can fast forward a lot of years like you did. If you go to Joe D and Cam, did you go to Jersey or were you in Texas?
No, so I was in Jersey.
You were in Jersey. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
is that where you were located, or did you go there?
Yeah, so I was local. When he had a spot in Wyckoff, I lived in the town over. And this is pretty wild, actually. True story. So my dad knew Cam's mom. They were good friends.
Okay.
And Cam's mom goes, hey, there's this, Cam works for this guy over here who runs like a little garage gym, right?
Little garage gym, yeah.
Right? And I say, cool. So I'll go over there and I'll learn, right? I get over there and it's Joe DeFranco's. But I was 19, so super young. And I didn't really know of Joe DeFranco yet. And he was still big time, but not even where he is now.
Yeah.
And I'm telling my friends, like, very nonchalantly, like, yeah, I'm doing this internship at Joe DeFranco's. And they're like, holy crap, you're at Joe DeFranco's? How'd you get in there?
Right.
And it's like, and then I start Googling a little bit more, right?
And you're like, Brian Cushing, Triple H.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, this dude's like famous. So then like every day when I showed up, I was like super early, start tucking in my shirt. I bring a notebook and I'm like just acting all professional.
Yeah. Did it make you kind of tighten up your game a little bit when you realized who you were actually going to be around?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like every conversation I felt like had some meaning behind it, because it was like, this guy might know this guy who can help me here. And so like I just really tightened up and tried to become as professional as possible. Cool,
man. To see there's a great way to start the show. And you did it in 5 minutes. That's what I like to see. Some people like to ramble on. You're pretty clear and cut to the point. Next question I had for you, again, I'm trying to give the audience as much as we possibly can today. Free, right? This is pretty cool. It's free. We're not even asking anything. So I think it's good. So all you guys out there, make sure you're taking notes, paying attention, especially if you're a coach, a parent of an athlete, or an athlete. So this question would be important. What are the two biggest mistakes, again, you can't ever give the exact ones, but two of the biggest mistakes you see your athletes make over and over? It doesn't even have to be a long answer. If it's a minute, it's even better because we can create it into a little piece of content. So that's how we shoot these. So like if you give a minute answer, two biggest mistakes, we'll crunch it and you'll be good.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I think mistake number one is seeing how others train, professional athletes train, and they try to mimic it in their own training, and they don't have the self-realization of actually where they are in the scale, right? So if I'm a new kid, I'm in high school, I'm 16, I trained a little bit, but I see LeBron James on Instagram doing something wild, I think to myself, that's how I have to train.
Boom.
And it's not the case. You got to build your base. And number two, I think that people try to skip steps, right? It's a whole sequence pattern, meaning you have to come in, build your base, you have to kind of progress from there, and then every year you're adding new tools to the toolbox and building upon the foundation, and then that's kind of how you get there. But most athletes don't want to stick it out, and those who do reap the rewards.
Dang, see, I like this guy. You can tell he's used to shooting some content. That was an awesome answer. Literally, if you guys are out there and you just heard that answer, it could not be more spot on. A lot of you guys out there are skipping the corrective work, learning how to accelerate or decelerate, change directions, and then all of a sudden you're trying to, run backwards on a treadmill with people shooting flames at you like LeBron or somebody else out there like that. I think of a gym. I don't know what your thoughts. I think it's called DBC.
Yeah.
And I just see a lot of.
Alexander, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I see some good things, then I see some stuff. I'm like, movement-wise, I'm like, I don't know.
I think that when you get to that point, right, you sometimes feed into, like, the platform you have. So you're like...
Right, because the crazy stuff gets attention.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, we all love it, but, like, I always say, like, try to get attention first and then justify yourself when you come back. So
right.
It's like, you might come out with a post that's controversial, people click on it, but then if they actually take the time to read, they'll be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Cool
I think I'm going to just start putting out some like ridiculous stuff that's like the anti what I do, and then on the next swipe over, it'll be like the actual real,
when you go through your insights.
Learning how to hip hinge. All right, so the next question is this. Which one is harder? and you have experience with both. Which one is harder, working with an inexperienced athlete, a youth athlete, or an elite pro or collegiate level athlete? Which one's harder? Which one requires the best coaching?
I would say working with an elite level athlete, because they're already so good. I always say to use the analogy of this, like if LeBron James never did any performance training, he'd probably still be a pretty good athlete.
Okay.
But how do I get him to get 1% better, 2% better? There's so many things that I have to take into effect: movement pattern, breathing patterns, gait, nutrition, recovery. So like there's just so much I have to do.
To give him that little edge.
Exactly. And then when I have a novice athlete come in, it's like, I know I could do anything and he'll get better.
Yeah.
Obviously, make sure you do it the right way, but it's like, if I just correct his breathing and how he moves a little bit, he got better that day. And then I can kind of build upon that every time he's in the gym.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Moving on. See, we're just banging these out. These are going to be good. I got 4 questions left. They're good ones. How important do you think strength and proper movement mechanic training is for female athletes playing soccer, basketball, volleyball, etc.? How important do you think that strength component and then the actual understanding of lateral movement and how to decelerate, how to plant, how to cut, how important do you think that is before they actually always approach the sport? And I only say that because our camera gal right here, Britt, she's a soccer player and had 5 knee surgeries by the time she was 20 and never once was put into a gym to learn how to strength train her hips, her glutes, to plant, to decelerate. And I just wanted your opinion on that for female athletes out there.
Yeah, I think, female athletes especially are, unfortunately are more predispositioned to injuries just due to so many different factors, wider hips, childbirthing, just not enough muscle. But I think people forget that, proper speed training is strength training to a novice athlete when done the right way. If you spend a lot of time in the acceleration phase, developing force, that is strength training. However, at the same time, I feel that female athletes need more strength training to compensate for their lack of muscle neurological output. So a lot of time spent, on the posterior chain, developing hip strength, hamstring strength, calf strength, low back strength is super important, and creating a progression and regressions for movements for athletes. A lot of females, I teach the hinge with a broomstick.
Right.
Then I teach it with a kettlebell. Then I put a barbell in their hands. Then we start to hex bar deadlift, and then we start to do glute ham raises, and then over time, like we talked about before, exactly, they can kind of develop this resiliency, if you will, to the forces on the field.
Yeah, it's a great answer, great answer. And I feel like strength training, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like strength training for females especially is a very hard hurdle for them to jump over and finally embrace that strength training aspect. And I think it's coaches, leaders' jobs, especially the sport coach, to put them in a position where they can actually understand that and be comfortable. Because in the school weight room, it's usually not a great atmosphere. One coach, 100, 300 kids, whatever it is. The girls are so intimidated. They got other classmates. So I feel like facilities like we have are really important for that. So I thought that was a cool question to ask.
Real quick, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Let's see if I could do this in under a minute.
Oh, here we go. Here's a minute. Brett, get it. We'll jot the note.
So I have a female athlete who I trained for 4 years when she first came in. She was super, super good at her sport. I'm not even going to say sports or names, but she was super good at her sport. Never had a training background. We kind of followed those steps to lead up to what we talked about. She goes to college in the Big Ten for a team that's finishing or is going to start the season top 10 in the country. And the strength coach there had her performing things that were actually detrimental to her starting the season. And now she's like a few pounds overweight. She's a little out of shape. And now the point being is that, in the private sector, females and any athlete really, they don't have to train with us. So we owe it more to them to make sure we properly educate and teach, as opposed to when you go to like an institutionalized setting, like they're getting paid no matter what.
Right.
They could just throw like anything at the wall and it's like, hey, good job,
And the kid trusts them.
Yeah. Because you're there, you have the title. If I'm the strength coach for Duke, I could tell you to like literally balance on a 3-stack dumbbell, and this is going to help with your proprioception. But who's going to question me because of my title? Yeah,
exactly. That makes sense. Yeah, I dig that 100%. And I feel like that goes to my thing. I always talk to people about the butcher mentality. If you go to the butcher always tells you, meat is for dinner. So it's kind of like if you come in here, yeah, we have squat racks and we have barbells and we have this or that, but if you have duck feet, if your feet are collapsing, if your arches are collapsing, you can't do a squat. Every time you change direction, I'm seeing your knees falling in, or you do a jump. Every time you jump, your valgus. I should have you build up the strength through other methods before you even touch the barbell, because you can't appropriately do it. But in a lot of high schools, they're like, we're squatting, and the kids can't physically squat. So I think I like that. You hit that right on the head, and the college one's a good one. They're getting paid, man.
It's crazy.
They don't care. I mean, well, maybe they care, but maybe they're busy too. I think sometimes they need extra help.
Just because this is going on the internet, right? This is a disclaimer. That's not saying all coaches.
True. Never that.
But we see it a lot, because when the athletes come back to me in the summer times, it's like I have to correct a lot of dysfunction that happened, by them. So
Absolutely. And I think with that being said, like, I think, you go into high school and there's a social studies teacher and they're your strength coach. It's hard to be a really good social studies teacher and somehow be a certified strength and conditioning coach who has experience. So they're giving it their best shot, but a lot of times it maybe isn't the best for the athlete. So here's kind of the rapid round. So these will go a little bit quicker. What is your favorite part about coaching and in that leadership position?
I think it's the only, outside of teaching, being a teacher as well, I think it's the only industry where you make a direct impact and it can be seen within like the first time of meeting somebody, in terms of like a mom calling you, hey, my son really liked it and he only trained there for a year. Or, my daughter's so brought in that I want my whole family to come train at the gym. It just allows you to establish relationships really quickly that I think could open doors to a bunch of different things.
I dig it. Next one is this. The investment that your athletes actually make in financially, or their parents, is probably pretty high in some cases, right?
Yeah.
What would be like a high tier package that you offer, the cost of it, like the highest tier, whatever that would be?
Yeah, so I mean, we
few grand,
training, obviously, where everything's scaled to you, and I personally bill myself anywhere between $100 and $150 an hour.
Okay.
Usually do that up in like packages of 5 or 10. Just because I know my worth and the amount of time, effort, money that I put into my craft. So I feel if I'm going to work with you, I'm going to give you my best, but I also need
that in return. And now for the audience out there, we're talking to another really highly qualified strength and conditioning coach who's passionate about honing in on his craft and taking you to the next level, or not even to the next level, to the top, right? We don't want to just go to the next level. But my thought is this: have you ever had anybody that you've put all this hard work and effort in, they're paying the highest price, 150 hour, it might be $4 grand a month. Have you ever had them come back and say, if they committed and they actually followed to it, have you ever had them come back and say, this was not money well spent? Never. So ladies and gentlemen out there, if you're a parent or if you're an athlete and you're tugging on your parent's sleeve to try and help you out, make the investment, because you're going to be able to skip a lot of different levels. You're going to be able to advance yourself a lot faster than you would just going into the school weight room and blending in with 80 other kids. And he's never had anybody say that they've spent their money and they're having buyer's remorse. And I've never had that in 11 years. So 11 years, you said 4 years, right? Or 5?
Well, total 7 now.
Total 7. So that's a 17, 18 years worth of training, guys. No one's ever complained about it. And that's the highest price. Do you often think that your highest paying clients put in the most effort?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you pay attention, right? So.
Ooh, that's a good quote. We'll use your picture on that one. If you pay attention. I like that. Now, last couple questions are: what are your 1 or 2 biggest pieces of advice to strength and conditioning coaches out there?
My biggest piece of advice for strength and conditioning coaches, I got 2. 1, educate yourself and get in the trenches. 2, though, and this is kind of something that I think is a little different of an answer, but develop high income skills, meaning that are pertinent to your industry. So if you're very good at writing, if you're very good at speaking in front of the camera, if you're very good at videography, if you're very good at something, because if you look at where the industry is going, if you're a great writer and you're in the trenches, and let's say you write an awesome manual of training, right, it's going to be very well received because of your skill of being able to do that. Or if you're very good at editing videos or creating a website,
right,
you can then put your information right out in a better environment in terms of delivering a high product.
Right.
And so I think a lot of coaches don't have these like super soft and hard skills. They just like are really good at what they do, but they don't have a means for putting out the information to others.
Absolutely, I dig it. Now, the last couple here kind of go hand in hand is what's next for you beyond, not that you're looking out of your situation right now, but I know there's probably, if you're like me, you're thinking bigger. So you're probably thinking, what's beyond this when, you know, there's a day where you're not maybe getting on the ground and showing people how to activate their glutes or, you know, get their hips stretched out. What are you thinking beyond where you're currently at? And I think a lot of strength coaches don't do that as well. They're not thinking beyond that. It gets pretty tough physically sometimes as you get a little bit older. I'm 33 now, to continue to load the plates and show the example. You know, how do you lead the next generation, or what do you see yourself doing beyond the strength and conditioning realm?
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of comes down to, like I said, another company that we have, which is called the Business of Strength, and that's basically where we help other young coaches and professionals create long-term careers in the industry and teach others how to do that. But I think that also comes right here in the gym, leveling up our other employees and instilling in them so we can delegate a little bit more. I think for you too, right? If all of your employees could get to a level where you don't necessarily have to be answering every call, making every sale,
right?
You don't be doing all those things, and you get those others to a certain level, it allows you to go on and do the things, maybe teaching, instructing more of what you'd like. So.
I like it. I like it. Now, last one is, how can we work together in the future? What could we do? What do you think we could do? I know we're on camera, but oh well, you guys can watch us. I'm just thinking, what can we do together in the future? Collaboration. You know what I mean? Because I know you're doing stuff. I think sometimes maybe piecing together, like, maybe it would be like the business side. Which is what I really like. I can't even almost talk about fitness anymore. Like I just like your videos are so detailed. I'm like, yeah, and like Joe D back in the day, I wouldn't even want to watch it anymore because my mind is on the next phase.
Of course.
11 years in, which I think you should be, but maybe it's like a business book, but it's got 23 different people, you know, the Kabuki strength guy, you got Joe D, you got people like you, me, you know, anybody that we can get in, each person writes a chapter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is something that'd be really cool moving down the road, and something that I actually had an idea of. I don't want to release the title of it, but it is going to be something like that, that if, you know, you were interested in doing that, I think that is where I was going to shift with it. Almost kind of along the lines of Tim Ferriss's Tool of Titans.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Or like it's a playbook for young coaches, right? Interviewed through other coaches, and you kind of go from there.
The playbook. I like it. I like it. Hey, I really enjoyed having you on the show. Is there anything else? Why don't you just shout out your business and your Instagram account real quick? We're going to have it linked up and everything like that because I want you guys to follow him, especially if you're an athlete or if you're a parent of an athlete. I want you to be following his account. So, yeah, we want you to subscribe and like and do the whole deal on our stuff. Hopefully you're already doing that, but make sure you're following Adam because he's putting out really high-value stuff, and it's going to teach you stuff, and it's free. I don't think you can do any better than free, right? I mean, you know, free. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. This was free. His stuff's free. Our stuff's free. Make sure you're following it if you're a parent or an athlete out there because you're really gonna get a lot of value. But I'll let Adam sign us out, close us out here.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me at Adam Menner. That's ADAMMENNER. And then you should also shout out Varsity House Gym. That's VARSITY House Gym. You can find us at those two platforms. We're pretty active, posting multiple times a day. And if you have any additional information, you'll find it right there.
Boom, boom. Hey, I really appreciated you being on here. We might have to do this again, but on the business, one of the business sides, one of the business shows. I appreciate having you on here. I'm going to close this one out, and we'll just catch up for 1 minute before you jump off there. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, do the whole thing. Follow us, and if this show really helped you out, drop a comment. I mean, it was a free show. At least you could do is drop a comment, even if you hated it, especially if you hated it, drop a comment. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow on, what's Thursdays? Turf Talk? Turf Talk. We'll see you guys then.